The storm hit the town like a warning from the sky, cold, violent, and unforgiving. And in the middle of that storm, a single dad named Aaron Winters stood on his sagging wooden porch, staring at the shivering silhouettes he had just found near the roadside. A frail elderly woman clutched her chest in pain, and a little boy, no older than 7, wrapped his arms around her, trying desperately to keep her warm. Their clothes were soaked, their faces streaked with fear, and the boy's eyes trembled with the kind of exhaustion no child should ever endure. Aaron didn't know their names. He didn't know why they were alone, or who they were running from. But he knew one thing: he couldn't leave them out there to die. With a pounding heart and shaking hands, he brought them inside, unaware that this single act of kindness would change his life forever. If you believe kindness can save lives and that second chances still matter in today's world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. It helps us tell more stories that remind the world what humanity looks like. Inside the small, dimly lit house, the heater buzzed weakly as Aaron laid the boy and his grandmother near the kitchen table. His own son, 10-year-old Liam, peeked worriedly from behind the doorway, but Aaron reassured him with a gentle nod. He made soup from whatever he had left in the cupboard, a rare warm meal in their own financially rough life, because some nights demanded something more than survival. As the aroma filled the cracked kitchen walls, the old woman's breathing steadied just a little, and the little boy's trembling eased. Aaron stayed awake long after they drifted into exhausted sleep, watching over them like a silent guardian. His mind swirled with questions he didn't dare ask. The boy's shirt was torn, bruises marked his arms, and the grandmother's wrists bore signs of long struggles. They had no bags, no shoes worth keeping, nothing that explained who they were. Yet, a strange instinct told Aaron that keeping them safe wasn't just kindness, it was necessary. The morning sun broke through the dusty window, casting thin rays across the floor. Aaron stepped outside to get firewood, but stopped abruptly as he noticed something that sent a chill crawling down his spine. A large black SUV, sleek, tinted, and utterly out of place in his quiet, broken-down neighborhood, sat idling at the end of his driveway. Its engine hummed like a threat. Aaron immediately turned back toward the house, his heart pounding with a dread he couldn't name. Whoever was inside wasn't there for him. They were looking for the boy and his grandmother. He quickly shut the door and told Liam to stay with the guests. The old woman and the boy were awake now, sitting at the table, their eyes heavy with fear as they listened to the approaching footsteps outside. The boy's hand gripped the edge of the table, his knuckles turning white, and the old woman's chest rose in sharp, painful breaths. It was then that Aaron realized they weren't just lost, they were hiding. Aaron wasn't a wealthy man. He wasn't a powerful man. But he had lived through enough hardship to know when someone needed protecting. His wife had died when their son was still a toddler, and he had built a life from the ruins, teaching Liam that strength came from compassion, not force. So when the heavy knocks hit the door and the cold voices demanded answers, Aaron found a courage he didn't know he still had. He stepped outside, shutting the door behind him, placing himself between the strangers and the two souls trembling inside his home. The men spoke with rehearsed politeness, but their eyes carried something else, a hunger for control, something darker than concern. They asked about a runaway child. They asked about an elderly relative. They described them as confused troublemakers, painting a story that didn't match the desperation Aaron had witnessed. He answered carefully, refusing to let fear betray him. After a tense exchange, the SUV finally rolled away, but Aaron knew the danger wasn't over. That vehicle would be back. Men like that never left quietly. Inside, the grandmother began to cry, silent, shaking tears that carved lines down her face. She told Aaron a fragmented version of their truth. They had escaped from an abusive relative who held them in isolation for years, using the boy for labor and treating the grandmother's illness as an inconvenience. When she collapsed from sickness, they were left alone in a locked room. One night, when the abuser passed out drunk, the boy stole the keys and fled with her into the cold. They had walked for hours, no destination, just hope that someone might help. And that someone had been Aaron. The next few days grew heavier. Aaron knew hiding them forever wasn't possible, but he refused to send them back into danger. He made calls, reached out to a friend who worked in social services, and gathered every scrap of information they would need to secure safety. It was a long, painful process, made even harder as he watched the grandmother's health decline. Yet, through it all, the boy found comfort in Liam, and for the first time in years, he laughed, soft, hesitant, but real. Then one evening, while Aaron stepped outside to check on the SUV tracks he feared would return, headlights flashed across the yard. His breath froze, until he realized it wasn't the same vehicle. The approaching car belonged to the friend he had contacted. After reviewing the situation, the authorities stepped in, not the corrupt ones tied to the abuser, but state officers who cared. They ensured the boy and his grandmother would be placed in a protective home, with medical treatment and a future untouched by cruelty. And they thanked Aaron for stepping in when no one else had. The departure was emotional. The little boy hugged Aaron with a grip full of unspoken gratitude, and the grandmother kissed Liam's forehead with trembling lips. They left with hope restored, carrying the warmth Aaron had given them when they had nothing left to carry. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps us continue telling real, emotional stories that remind people of the good still left in the world. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Aaron's place?